Hey everyone, it's Book of Katherine. So we are into another long night of no sleep. So we are just going to continue on with something. I was talking today about it's good because I'm still doing my physical therapy and I am moving more, so it's good. But it's just in that overlapping thing that I talked about in my first video on the very first day after the procedure. So, and we knew that that would be rough, and I'm still glad that we did it, and I got to drive, and I know more driving is coming soon, so stay tuned. So, let's see here. If I hadn't driven, I wouldn't have this, right? So, it's boss, baby. It's boss. So, I can't wait to see your thrift shop finds. So, okay, so let's go ahead and talk about, I talked today on Twitter about not following the left, and I posted a video about not following the left. And I don't know when this video will be posted, so I don't know how long this is after that, but I was like, okay, so I've been watching some videos. It's hard to find videos that aren't following the left, and so I was like, okay, how do I respond to this video without actually just following along with the left and following into that narrative? And I realized, you know, yeah, I could come back with a lot of the arguments and things like that and research that I've posted before. And I was like, why don't I talk about things that I haven't posted yet? And I've actually printed up some posters that I was going to go over this when I do my Jordan Peterson stuff, because I did go and see Jordan Peterson. Yay! And I did do an after Jordan Peterson video, and I'll be releasing that later. But he said that he was like working through some things when he was going to do can never say it, Solzhenitsyn's introduction, and that he was still working through some things about oppressor versus oppressed and things like that. And I was taking all these notes and talking to my husband on the way home, because I was just like underlining. I was like, having conversations in my head. And so here are my thoughts on that and the whole oppressor versus oppressed relationship. I find it very, very interesting. It seems to me, and seems to color a lot of conversations that happen, and it seems to color a lot of the ways that a lot of liberals out there and Democrats who are still with the Liberal and Democrat Party. I know I've been sharing some videos of Louder with Crowder talking with some Democrats and with some liberals who don't know that free speech and hate laws are being drawn up by their own party. And that is the thing that's the reason why I don't ever get like on liberals. That's why I don't say, liberalism is disgusting or anything, because it's not. I mean, most liberals are like freedom of speech. They don't know that their party they don't know their party's policies. And most of them you can sit down with and have an amazing conversation with. It's just that the blanket media and the blanket astroturfing, like one guy said, well, in Venezuela, the state media is so loudspeaker that people don't know what's really going on. And like I said in the last video, I was like, yeah, kind of like here. We don't know about female genital mutilation. We don't know about honor killings. We don't know about the third jihad. We don't know about hate speech laws. We don't know about the no-go zones in Europe. We don't know about unmitigated migration in Europe. We don't know about the hate speech laws in Canada. I mean, there's just so much that we don't know about. We don't even know about UN. We don't know about the UN. I mean, there's just on and on. We don't know the Paris Agreement isn't about climate change. We don't even know UN 21 isn't about climate change. We don't even know the real climate change numbers. We don't even know that the UN admitted in 2013 that it had actually changed all the numbers just to fit the climate change narrative by 50%. Like, there's just on and on and on. There's so much. There's just so much out there that's just hidden. And what's really sad is that we have all these channels. Like I said, YouTube has these channels out there for every single demographic, including demographics for people who are moderates. YouTube is very smart. They know when I presented a challenge today and I said, what demographic is this for? They know that YouTube knows that a big chunk of the nation is moderate. And so they go ahead and put out channels that are for moderates. So they say, oh, we're right in the middle. But when it comes to the issues that really matter and on voting, all of a sudden, those people get really vicious and attack. So they'll be all nice and sweet and they'll have both sides on and they'll be cordial. And then all of a sudden you get to a hot button issue that the left makes the most money on, like climate change or marijuana, and it's pit bull time. And that person goes down. They it just latches onto the throat and bleeds them dry. And everyone's left wondering, like, what happened? And that's exactly what shills are supposed to do. Like, they're supposed to be out there floating and just attracting all the fish to them so that when it's time to pop the cork, like, make sure you keep all those moderates coming here for the news source so that you don't get any of the real facts on the issues that matter, because we know we're never going to get them all the way to the left. But let's keep them in the middle, but let's keep them on the left on the issues we need them on the ones we make the most money on. And so I really wanted to just go over, that's like, I'm never going to be like on the 90% of views. I'm never going to be like disdainful, you know, because I'm aware, like I wasn't aware of all of these facts. Most of us are unaware of all of these facts. Like, it's almost impossible. My poor husband was sitting there, that's right, we were in line for the procedure, and he looks at his phone and he got a push from Google, which his app wasn't even like, he doesn't even use Google. It's like off. And he got a push about a news story, like bashing POTUS, and like got it pushed through to his phone as a notification. He had everything turned off. Like, he doesn't use any of it. And he's like, how'd this get on my phone? And I was like, wow, like, how do you get rid of it? Like, it's like emergency broadcasting system. And he's the smart one of the family when it comes to tech. So it's really, really hard to, like, you know, duck. You know, it's really, really hard to ever question. And you would never think that America has a state-run media. You would just never think that. And the reason I always question is because I worked in marketing, luckily, and I'm just kind of like, when everyone's saying the exact same thing, you know, like just the exact same thing all the time. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, and it just all happens to benefit the markets. Like, I'm just kind of like, this doesn't, and the way they phrase things, I know marketing phrases and stuff. And so I would just tune out. I didn't know it was astroturfing. It wasn't interesting anymore. It just became boring. Same thing with like Showtime and all those shows. And even poor Homeland, I was just like, and I'm out. Like, you know, I was just like, I'm done. It was just so we lost Homeland. And I was like, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. So I wanted to talk about this idea of, I wanted to, well, I know things. I mean, there's all these shows, and I guess maybe not to you guys, there's nothing left, but you know, anyway, I can't. Okay, so there is this thing this idea that's out there that goes on with the left versus the right. And this is the ideology spectrum that everyone seems to see the left and the right through. And, well, not everyone, but in general. Okay, and the left is that the right, well, basically that the right, you know, as far as extreme ideologies, when we're talking about extreme ideologies, the right is the oppressor, goes after the oppressed. And they know it. Like, the oppressor is proud of going after the oppressed. They're the big guy, and they, like, love going after the little guy. They love chasing after the little guy, just like the Ku Klux Klan in the Deep South. You know, they were already slaves, and they still loved just beating down on them, right? Okay, so then we have, which we now know was the Democratic Party, you know, that started the Ku Klux Klan, then rebooted the Ku Klux Klan. Great. So, and kept out, like, our first Black Olympian winner from even still going into the White House. Just wonderful things. So, but then you go over here into the left and the extremes. And there is the it fights for the oppressors here, and it's the oppressed. So that the left ideology is all about. So this is all about, the right is all about the oppressor overcoming the oppressed, and the left is all about the extreme, is about the oppressed overcoming the oppressor. And so it's always about lifting up the oppressed and becoming, you know, overcoming their oppressors. Okay. So here's the thing with that. In all extremes and just evil in general, the end result, the reason why they're extreme and the reason why they're dangerous is that their end result in both of them, you have to remember the test that they did in a room. If you gave a power structure in a room and you gave students a power structure in a room and you said, okay, here's the ranking order and these students have unmitigated power over these students. And the next thing you know, these students were like, had the other ones, students, the ones they had power over on the ground and like ready to shoot them, had a kill order on them. Like they went that quick to power. And Jordan Peterson says all the time, like, you know, the Germans were the most educated, most highly educated people. Germany, like they were the most highly educated people. They were so highly educated. They're not the people that you would think that would turn and become Nazis. And he's like, don't think that you'd be the one that wouldn't become a Nazi. Don't you dare think that. It is you. There's a much, much slimmer chance that you would be the one that saved people. And if you're not already registered to vote, like go register to vote and get yourself on that path. Like, right? Go get yourself on that path of being one of those people that might save somebody, because that's like, that's a little bit of fight for good. You know what I mean? Fighting for somebody's right, somebody's like, or for the people who fought for your freedom to vote and all the blood that was shed for you to have that right to vote. Like, I remember that's what got me to vote, because in my house, the only reason that I was trying to figure out why I'm this way, because when I hear people speak online, I realize how much their households had such a big impact on their, you know, belief systems and their politics. Politics were banned in my house, like banned. No one was able to whisper a word. So I had a house completely devoid of politics. As far as like, I think though, like my mother kept slipping articles, and I think that made me scared of speaking or even looking. I think that everything that she slipped me really, really made me scared of. I think that's part of what made me scared of looking at any one side or the other. I think it got me. I think that I do think it got into me, but I didn't even know it. Like, I didn't know it was politics, but I think that there was that voice in there, if that makes sense. But I didn't know it was politics. You know what I mean? Like, there was some programming going on, but I didn't know it. I wouldn't have known it for the life of me. So, and so I'm only figuring that out now. But like, I wouldn't have been able to even tell you, like, and schools didn't teach you well, whatever. So I find that very interesting. But the bottom line is that, I don't know where I got off of that, but the bottom line is that, you know, it's, the end result is that at the end, millions, well, not really with the left, only with the left millions died, because we know that Hitler was the, you know, National Socialist Party, you know. And it was really interesting because one of the writers that Google has banned was a big writer in Germany through the 30s, and he was a big writer for the Socialist Party, and Google has wholly wiped him off. And I keep trying to find his writings, because one of his writings actually said he was kept talking down capitalism through the 30s and talking down, and then after like Hitler's socialists and they took over and everything, he was like, capitalism, even if it's, you know, lives on even in socialism. It's there for the rich, and that's why they do socialism. And I was like, that's why they banned him, because he lived through the birth of it and saw it actually come to fruition, saw it kill millions, and saw capitalism live on and socialism. He saw the end result of socialism. It was just to steal the wealth of all the people and just get all the, rape the wealth of the Jews, rape the wealth of the countries around them, just take all the wealth and still be capitalists at the very top of society. Whereas before, all of society was able to be capitalist and, move freely throughout society. It was just really interesting to read his writings. So I'm trying to get more out there to you guys and stuff like that, but just they've really shoved it all down the memory holes. It's really, really hard to get any of it to you. So I'm really trying. But so we know that millions die always when these kind of ideologies but still the end of this is death. Like death, because people get high on power over another person. Like that's what ultimately happens. They stopped that experiment, but the students were ready to kill. Power over another person. Now, if you're not in the extreme, right? If you're not in the extreme, the healthy version, a healthy balance, either way is, well, they say for human rights is equality for all. We're all equal. And when people are like, I can't believe the left, I can't believe the left, and I'm just kind of like, well, like one of the things we learned from Sargon of Akkad, we learned about like what went on with the life of that young man who was attracted to what that one teacher was teaching and why he did the things at DePaul University that he did and shut it down. You know what I mean? Like he said, my self-esteem was really broken. He was just completely broken apart. It's toxic, this idea that you can become empowered over other people, privileged over people, and get up on a stage and shut down another race or another people and be superior. In Hitler's Germany, Germans were superior to all other race. In Black Lives Matter, you get to be superior to, you get to shut down whoever you want. But whatever it is, there's somebody below you. It's not about becoming equal. It's about tilting another human above or below you. And so that's the thing that the left offers right now. And the right offers it too. The right says that we are better, like extreme right teaches that, like the, I don't even know the term, like the extreme, like the white supremacists teach that the white race is better than any other race, right? Aryan race or whatever. Well, the left teaches similar things, right? And they say it's out of oppression. But the bottom line is that in the end, it still offers them the ability, their ideology actually says, hey, if you join our club, if you join our group, and if you go underneath our laws, all the laws we're proposing will make you the oppressor, and it will make them the oppressed. And you can see that by the New York Times woman they just hired that said all those racist things about whites. And all these people going across all of these things. And all the laws right now that it's harder to get, men are dropping out of colleges at enormous rates. And if you switched white men in today's statistics and replaced it with black men, you'd think that we had a crisis on our hands. In the definition of oppression and privileged classes. We don't have equality for all. And the left offers an oppressor versus oppressed dichotomy. The only thing is that they don't say that. They lie about it. And I don't understand why, and you can see that in Solzhenitsyn. You can see, if you read the Gulag Archipelago, when you read the Gulag Archipelago, you see it all the time. Like, the police come to pick you up, and they're not truthful about why they're coming to pick you up. They lie to you about it. They say, oh, we're coming to give you a raise. And then they snatch you. Like, people lie. In the rest of the world, why doesn't any other country have freedom of speech? Why has no other country adopted freedom of speech? Why is no other country on earth, why has 99% of all countries on earth refused to adopt the freedom of speech, a First Amendment-like law? We've been around for 250 years. They could have adopted it. They could have pushed for it. They could have said, hey, we want it. The people could have pushed for it. And yet the governments of the world have said, nah, we'd rather jail people for saying anything that they want. We'd rather not let the people have a freedom to speak whatever they want, which means their civil rights movements haven't happened. That puts power in the government's hands, not the people's hands. Why is that? Is man naturally good or evil? Like, which way do we lean? And how does the globe, like, just look empirically at the globe. One country, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. One country does that. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. One country offers equality to women more than any other country. One country has more higher wages than any other country. We're not perfect. We're not perfect, not by a long shot. But no other country has it. And if you actually look at what's going on in the other countries right now, you can see all of those things that used to separate us by a little are suddenly mattering a whole lot. Because those hate speech laws on the books are absolutely imploding on them. Do you know the UN, when they adopted Sharia law, do you know how much Sharia law is being imposed on people? I can't believe how many interviews I'm hearing where YouTube calls people and says, well, you violated Sharia law. And people are just like, what? And I'm like, how many of us are not educated on the fact that the UN adopted Sharia law? Like, that is PC. PC is Sharia law. Look up Sharia law. Look it up and how you're supposed to talk about Muhammad. My God, you know this video would normally get taken down just for saying that. Western women, there's an assault on Western women, and being like, remember I did this whole thing on Western women and the H&K and the whole thing. And now instead of like, okay, they're like, all right, so you won't have your head covered up. You won't do this. All right, we'll make you look like we'll just start making you look like, you know, the girls in South America are the ones that were sex trafficking. We'll make you look like our sex trafficking ads. That's exactly what they're doing now. They're like, we'll make you look like that. Instead of the Western, like, power woman that we used to look like. The empowered woman, the last time we looked like it was in the 90s, but the Western woman used to have big hair, glorious jewelry. We just used to look like pow. And you know what's really sad is that if you look at the French Revolution aristocrats, do you know how many women are in those pictures? And I'm like, you look at the aristocrats today and where are the women? And you know why that is? That tells you how much Sharia law is in our PC society, because there's no woman anymore. They've been siddled out. And you can't sit there and say to me, oh, because women are suppressed. Who owns the media? That's the left. The left owns the media. It's not conservatives who own the media. Conservatives have females in their midst. Females that are like looking all la la la. You know, of every age, race, station, types, whatever. You know, and they're not just writing on feminism. They're writing on a bunch of different things. All sorts of different things. Instead of just one thing. You know, and they don't all dress the same and have the exact same attitude and the exact same expression on their face. There is a drug that these both offer, and it's the drug of being the oppressor over the oppressed. And just because one lies about it and says, no, we're really about the oppressed versus the oppressor, just because they lie about it doesn't mean it's not the same dang thing on paper with empirical value. When you look at the evidence, it still offers you the ability to be the oppressor over. Look at what happened at DePaul. Look what's happening with free speech laws, like hate speech laws all over. Who's being oppressed? Is it the minorities or the majority? No, that would be the majority is being oppressed. They're staying into their houses. They're being gang raped. 1,500 gang rapes in one city. In one summer. So in my opinion, that's why I say, like, we're kind of all one political party, the 90%, because anyone who believes in free speech today is kind of like, oh, that's kind of the defining thing of the day, is like this whole 90% that believes in free speech. And I just think that liberals today, if they knew what was going on, if they knew what was happening on college campuses, if they knew the real facts about what was happening in Europe, if they knew what was going on in Congress, if they had any idea about the laws that have been passed, if they knew anything about how the government has been ballooned, if they knew that the EPA and OSHA can now go and is now going to farms across America and simply confiscating land because that's the power that was given to them under the Obama administration. And then if they try to get their land back, OSHA says, try it, we'll sink you. You need to pay us off if you want it. But they're just taking the land. They're doing land grabs for Agenda 21. And you know what happens to that land? We know what happens to that land because we're watching it happen in China. It's not going to be left alone for environmental studies. No, the rich come back in, raise it, and they put their sky houses on it. They develop it. They're taking private citizens' land. And I'm telling you, I don't know, I haven't met a single liberal who once they learn the real truth, I haven't met a single liberal who isn't like, oh, this is how I want to vote. Like if they voted on the issues the way they really stand, you know, they'd all be voting with us on clean to the GOP. They just don't know it. And they don't know the 1% statistics and all those sorts of things. So I just thought I'd talk about the oppressor versus the oppressed, that the whole draw of the left today is that it offers students and kids the ability to be more powerful than another person. And that is why it is so dangerous to send kids to college today. Not only does it put them in mountains of debt, Freudian slip, not only does it put them in mountains of debt that they'll never be able to pull off, it makes them a serf to lords and aristocrats, just like in before the French Revolution. How is it any different? Instead of going out and being able to make wages right away and earn their wealth immediately. But it also makes them start thinking, it traps them into an ideologue that they are better than other people instead of equal. And they say this is a huge power trip. That's why they don't show up unless they get paid for the rallies. There's amazing stats on that. Only the rallies they get paid for are the ones they show up to. You know why? Because they think they're privileged. They think they deserve to be paid. They're like, if I don't get paid, I don't show up. It is not about feeling strongly about the issue. It's about feeling privileged. I deserve to be paid. This is worth my time. I should be paid for this. I'm worth something. The left makes me feel stronger and better than other people, and I get to let out my rage on other people. And you know what's so interesting? The Fifth Estate, I was going back through their older episodes. Get this. When video games came out, do you know what the Fifth Estate's documentary was? Their investigative journalism piece was on video games when it came out like decades ago? It called it the greatest ego trip of all time. It was like, it makes you think you're a god. Egomaniac on crack or something. It was just, and I was like, oh my God. And that's exactly what video games do. They make them think they're like this. Of course they don't want to live in society. Because in the video game world, there's nothing they can't do. They're a Jedi. They can be anything they want, any identity they want, and they don't have to live in the real world and move their body, and it hurts to move their body, and deal with the consequences of their actions. You know, if they mess up in a video game, so what? So what? Redo. Just bing, bing. Not in real life. Real life hurts. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. We were doing something. I forget what it was that we were doing. And it was just crazy. I forget what it was. And we were just like, okay. And I was like, I wouldn't trade this for anything. I'm living this. Like, I'm living this. Like, you can't trade this for something in virtual reality. There's no trading this in virtual reality because I'm actually doing it. It was really, really neat, like feeling it on my face and feeling it on my body and feeling the forces on my body. You know, no goggles and no set is ever going to do that for me. It'll never replace it. And same thing with interacting with all these things, you know, like real life is a rush, man. It's a real rush. And same thing when you get used to talking to people. And that's the thing, is that you have to be able to see people as equals. And that is what healthy and real life is like, and participating in the real world. And that is why so many, that's why helicopter parenting was brought out, because it prepared them for being leftists. It prepared them for being Democrats, because it put them into an ideology of this. We're better than our parents. We know better than our parents. That, you know, parents are always like, oh, teenagers today. And I was like, I didn't know any teenagers growing up like that. The only teenagers I ever saw that were on movies about Valley Girls. Like, you can see them today, Valley's do you remember that? Like, I still haven't seen it. I keep hearing about this. It's not available. Some movie called Valley Girl. But like, they used to make fun of girls like that. And now all the teenagers talk like that. And I find it very interesting that all the programming today, Charles Murray, I saw a thing Charles Murray did, and I disagree with half of his stuff only because I know the research. There's actually research out there that disproves like half of the things that he says, but I don't blame him because I know he's in an echo chamber, and I know he just doesn't have access to, he doesn't even know how to, I don't think he even knows how to get to the research. I think that if he knew the research was there, I think he'd be all up in it. So, but yeah, so the other half, like his image of a utopia, I was like, oh dear God, that's not even possible, dude. Like, all the things that you just said work this way, they don't even work that way. Like, I was just like, oh dear. So none of that could actually happen. But he did do this video on how to know if you're an elite. And it was really interesting because I was like, I had already been tinkering with the idea that the media raises kids to be elites. Like, if you notice, they kind of walk around like aristocrats. Like, they already walk around like this. Like, there's a girl in my PT office, and she just makes everyone miserable. Like, she just like, she treats her like, she literally, like, she's like Marie Antoinette, you know, even with a broken leg and everything like that. Just, and just is and it is unabashed to everyone, to her, to everyone, and just zero empathy, just zero. And that, you know, and that girl can just say the most cruel things, and she whips her mom like a dog, says the rudest things, and like, you know, and the mom just apologizes to the room and says, oh, teenagers. And I see that all the time, these older moms in their 50s or 60s and going, oh, teenagers. And I was like, you shouldn't have to apologize for your kid all the time. Like, that means you're doing something wrong. That means you are babying them. You're treating them like the princess that they are not. They are supposed to be equals with others. They're equals with us. They shouldn't be treating the rest of us like crap. And they shouldn't be whipping you like a dog. You know, you're their parent. That you provide them with a roof, with a house, with food, lodging, and they have absolutely zero idea of what that takes. Zero. And they're in for a cruel awakening because someone will come down and snatch them out. You're making them extremely unsafe and extremely unaware of where the world works. But they definitely they definitely are in this ideology with helicopter parenting, whipping people. Like, they see that mom is oppressed, and that kid is the oppressor. Right now, it's not the kid's fault. After 18, it'll start becoming theirs. At some point, it becomes a choice. There does come a point where it's a choice. When you start hitting reality, it does become a choice. And it doesn't help that teachers treat them like little pets either. the administration treating bad, because the administration, everyone says, oh, it's the administration's fault, it's the administration's fault, and they drive this. You know, honestly, I've been watching, the administration wants the kids to like them. The administration is just so dying for kids they're so dying to be young again. You know, the administration, psychologically, all this administration wants is for the kids to like them again and to be their friends and to be their mommies and to like be accepted by the kids and anything for the kids. And I'm like, because, you know, the kids are used to whipping them like parents, and the kids are like, work for us. And the administration's like, okay, we'll work for you. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, and it just gives them a power trip, and that leads to death. It leads to death, and I wouldn't be surprised if death is occurring because no one's reporting on it. When Antifa is out there slitting horses' throats, and our entire media is out there saying they are a peaceful group, like they're freaking Greenpeace or something, and freaking our alternative media sources that are supposed to be moderate, like Joe Rogan, goes, Google it, like Cenk Unger. Google it. Just Google it. See, Washington Post says this. Oh, Washington Post. Yeah, if the Washington Post says it, then it's right. Right. Yeah. Forget astroturfing. Forget WikiLeaks. Forget Soros leaks. Forget just you go any further than the Washington Post or the New York Times, you bother to go even a hair underneath any of it. It is just completely like poof. But no one bothers. No one bothers. Especially alternative online hitting the moderates. And so I guess at the last end here, what I would like to say is, please don't be like my parents. Please don't. There is a huge push in my friends' families to just not teach their kids religion, or not teach their kids ethics, or not teach they'd be like, they'll believe what they want to believe. No. You know what? All my friends grew up in some kind of religion, and then they went off and made their own decisions. What it gave them was some kind of an ethical code. All of them. I don't think any of them stayed with it. Like, I'm trying to think of someone I can't think of anyone who stayed with it. But they're good people. Like, they're good people. They're happy. No, there are some, but not many. And but the kids that haven't, it's not good. They're having so many troubles in school. But it's not so much religion, actually, that I want to talk about. It's the politics that I want to talk about. That's right. It wasn't religion, though the studies are there or whatever. And it's such, I don't care what religion besides Islam. Just some kind of like moral compass. I don't want your daughters married off at 8, or their vaginas cut off at 6 or 3. But if politics, I would really encourage you to actually talk to your kids about politics. It's okay. Because the biggest thing I would say is this, and this is to the kids out there as well. If I've learned anything through all my travels, across all the years, across all my research, is that people change their ideas. They change their ideas on every single area of politics. Where they were at 14 to 16 to 20 to 22 to 24 to 28 to 33, everyone I knew changed. Like they moved around, like they had things change. And some policy, as they grew up and learned facts or experienced life, they changed. Like they gathered evidence or they gathered life experience and things morphed and things changed. And in certain policies, or the world changed or the government changed. Like I know for sure a lot of people have moved to the conservative side because the Democrats have truly changed. A lot of people, like the Democrats, I know a lot of older friends, a lot of much older friends, like, whoa, it's not the party that was there, 40 years ago. Totally different party. And they were just kind of like, well, no, the party that I was in is now over here. And I saw a Crowder interview he did. I watched a lot of Crowder today. It was not a good day. And just YouTube just keeps pulling it up, and I didn't have the energy to change anything. But luckily they were all just good, changed my mind. So I got to hear a lot from other people. And one of them was a thing of a lot of gay conservatives, which is like one of the biggest targeted audiences by Twitter. Twitter's just nailing gay conservatives. And Crowder was like, now that gay marriage is off the table and it's not hotly contested, do you think a lot of gay conservatives are moving over, or that, gays are moving over to conservatism because they like smaller government? And they were like, oh yeah, they were like, actually, you'd be shocked at how many gays are actually conservative. But Milo's been saying that for a while. But that's kind of been my experience, actually. Some of my friends who are gay were some of the more conservative people I knew. I never thought about that before. Like I said, I don't think of them. I try not to separate try not to think about my friends. I try to think of online I don't want to think about my friends' individual politics. I don't want to put them in those categories. I don't want to do that. I don't want to think of them that way, like who's what. I don't want to do that. But try not to let my brain go there. So anyway, just holistically, I'm like, all right, we're all generally, and that's kind of, I don't want to start doing that. So anyway, yeah, I think it's okay to talk to your kids and explain to them where parties really are right now. Like what kind of laws each party's actually making. Because and then that tells them it's okay to look. It's okay to research. That lays a foundation for them. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you can't vote for them. You can't vote for them. Ultimately, the vote is still their own. You can show them how to vote. You can show them where to sign up. You can do the whole 9 yards and everything like that. Just like when you take them to get their first driver's license or to get their first bank account and all those things, and teach them how to balance a checkbook and all those sorts of things, or, whatever, on Mint and stuff like that. But basically, voting is the same thing, and teaching them politics is the same thing, and like the reasons that you believe the things that you believe, and instilling those values. And I think that, and the reason that you believe those values and everything like that. And it's amazing as I'm listening to all these different people talk about their values, how similar they all are, but how young they formed them. And I'm like, man, I didn't have anything. I think I was too busy getting crap kicked at me, but, but I think that's part of the reason I'm really sensitive to this, is oppressed versus oppressor. Because that's what I came screaming out of the house really sensitive to, which is why I think I went into inner city when no one else would, or whatever, and stuff like that, is that's I was determined. And to be a teacher and to teach where, I wanted to, and when I worked in the inner city, so I wanted to help, and I wanted to be as I don't know, give back or whatever. But like I said, it did just as much as for me. You know what I mean? Like some of my best experiences as a kid was the work that I did. My phone is nowhere to be seen or whatever, but I was doing it on my own. But Some of my favorite memories are the things, the moments that I shared with people. Yeah, huh. I don't know. They're just amazing people. I don't know. I really enjoyed my time with everyone. So I got along with everyone really well. So I miss it out there. I miss America. So anyway, all right, you guys, I think that's enough for now. So there's my oppressor versus oppressive, right versus the left thing, and I hope it helps. And I hope you consider what I say, but it is your freedom and it is your choice and it is up to you. It is totally your thing. It's just my thoughts. And since it's like 5 a.m. in the morning, I thought, hey, I'm able to film. I might as well film. And because I don't know, I'm so excited I get to film. I wasn't able to film during PT and I'm still doing PT, but now I get to film during PT. That is the gift. That is the gift of the procedure. Like I was like, I'm filming again. I'm filming again. This is my third video, no, fourth video in 3 days that I have filmed since the procedure. No, fifth video. That's incredible. So, and I said Dr. B, like there was Dr. A and Dr. B, and I wanted to hurt Dr. B. I was like, I'm going to come for you because Dr. A said yes and Dr. B said no. So I'm not giving any names. Are you kidding me? Like that? Like doctors all over the place say no to things. Like I'm sure everyone in America has a story like mine. So why bother? Like, are you kidding? I could be as generic as I want to be. And you guys, this is the whole point is, yeah, I'm sure you guys understand what I'm going through. So it's exciting. All right. That's enough for politics. I'm out of here. And I love you guys. And yes, watch some of these videos. And please, you can leave a comment below. And I'll try to get to you if I can. If YouTube even lets me see you. Please never let me see you. And then also, yes, donate if you can, please. That would be super, super, super helpful. All right. Peace out. Bye.